In this video, we're gonna hop into one of the areas of North County, San Diego that a lot of you watching reach out about. A lot of you watching are like, do some more videos on that. So that's what we're doing here, the pros and cons of living in Oceanside, updated version for you. We're gonna dive in, and some of the pros are also cons, but there's a lot going on in Oceanside, honestly, right now. It's one of the cities right here in San Diego, North County, San Diego, that has some of the most growth, some of the most new projects, some of the most development, just kind of different things going on right here in San Diego. So we'll get into all that. Some of those, like I said, are pros or cons. But before we get in, as always, thanks for tuning in. Right here, we make videos about living right here in San Diego. We're also real estate agents. So as you're watching this, if you guys want to dive in, you're thinking about moving out here, we want you to reach out. We have clients reach out all the time, call, text, or email. Number is popping up right now. Reach out. We love to hop on a Zoom call, get you dialed in. Maybe it's Oceanside, maybe it's some of these other areas that we do cover a lot. And so hopping into the first, like I said, there's some overlap in all these, but the first part, I have it written down on our notes as a pro. But if you watch this video, you read some of the comments, you're probably gonna be like, some locals are gonna definitely not like this. But it's the growth. Like, as cities grow, obviously there's change. Back 20 years ago, Oceanside wasn't really a destination of places to go eat, of places to go hang out, like cool spots, like vacations, all that kind of thing. Over the past, recent 5 years or so, maybe even 10 years, that has changed quite a bit. So especially in that downtown Oceanside area where used to be big parking lots, used to be kind of like low-rise buildings. Now they're building some higher-rise buildings. They are building some, not buildings, but I guess some are condos, but there's a few hotels down there right on the water. Really cool little venues down there. I was actually gonna bring talk about San Diego people here, like staycations and stuff. My wife's birthday was a few days ago, and we were thinking about going to one of the hotels, go there, go to the restaurants up there, go check out the pier. Well, the pier, I think it's open right now. I did have a big fire at the end recently here, but just kind of go hang out in that area. We ended up going somewhere else, but a few years ago, that probably wasn't even a thought. 5-10 years ago, it wasn't even a thought. Now it is. You're seeing a lot more of that in downtown Oceanside, and it's spreading out from there. There's a bunch of new development. So a little bit further inland used to be the swap meet. They're putting, it's kind of funny, they're putting it's called Ocean Camp. It's like a wave pool. It's gonna be a resort. It's also gonna be a housing development. So they're gonna have townhomes and single family homes out there as well. And it's gonna be, like I said, a wave pool. You're probably like 3 miles inland from the actual ocean. So I've always thought that was like
consistent wave.
One consistent wave. I guess you can go at any time. You don't have to worry about the creatures swimming around out there. You don't have to worry about any of that. And I think it's gonna be cool. Like if they have season passes or something, I don't know what they'll have, but I'll probably go there. I don't know. I've always wanted to go to a wave pool, but that's like one of the big projects. And as you go even east in Oceanside, gets a little bit rural out there, honestly. As you go down the 76 off North River Road, there's a new community that is in the works. It's called North River Farms. They tout it as like an agri-hood. So a little bit of farm, a little bit of housing. They're building one in Encinitas called Fox Point Farms as well, where you do have actually some farm land on the property, on the development. Now, that obviously a lot of this too, there's blowback from the community, but they are seeing more of these developments as time goes on in Oceanside.
The last one that's kind of a major one is Front Wave Credit Union Arena. I think it's Arena.
I think it is. Yeah, we'll go with that. We're gonna call it Front Wave.
Yeah, is a cool spot just north of Oceanside Boulevard off of Rancho del Oro. And there are a bunch of new condos in there. There's gonna be, like I said, an arena, which is gonna be where the San Diego Sockers, which is an indoor soccer team, will play. They'll also have other events there. Really excited about it. I think it's gonna be a cool new addition to Oceanside. And then with all of this development, as Chris said, some of the locals aren't stoked about it, but the reason that there's kind of a revitalization of Oceanside is because they've become very pro-development, which has led to a lot of these areas getting revitalized and getting some new cool hotels, getting some more tourism, just getting more dollars into the city, which is just creating kind of that better atmosphere in spots, just higher level amenities in Oceanside. And that ties into one of the other pros, which is the size of Oceanside. It is the third largest city in the San Diego County. So there is that room to grow and there is that room for more development. And we will start to see some of that land get turned into housing. Obviously we need a lot of housing. So it is definitely a pro. And there's just opportunity for Oceanside to get bigger and better and have new big developments. You know, that size kind of allows that.
Yeah, Oceanside has about 175,000 in population. As you're looking at a map, starting in, down south, let's just start in La Jolla, work your way up north. The cities tend to get progressively bigger. Del Mar, then you go Solana, then you go Encinitas, then you go Carlsbad, and Oceanside is the biggest definitely out of all the coastal cities. And with the size of Oceanside, it tends to have some of the most different neighborhoods, the most options for neighborhoods, and as far as coastal cities go, but I mean, first off, it's not all coastal, so we'll kind of cover that as well. But with all these different neighborhoods, there's just a lot of different housing options, a lot of different price points. A lot of folks who reach out regarding living in San Diego, a lot of them do like Oceanside because the affordability factor, you are somewhat close to the coast, there's a lot of amenities around, but it's just a lot of different options. One of the first clients that ever reached out from our YouTube channel many years ago lived in an area called Rancho del Oro. That's where they ended up moving. And it was like just suburbs. So you have like some of these big master plan suburban communities. As you get coastal, let's go to South O. So my sister lives in South O, and it's a cool little vibe. It's on the east side or west side of the 5. You have like a bunch of these, they were called like Potter houses. It was like these really smaller houses. Since then, people have built them out and added on and this and that, but like 1-car garages. It used to be like 2-bedroom, 1-bath places. And South O is one of the coastal communities. You'll also find some other communities in there. As you go inland, you have Fire Mountain. You're set up on top of a hill there. You have probably some of the most character in there, a lot of custom houses in Fire Mountain. And just nearby, you have Loma Alta. As you go further inland, like I said, Rancho del Oro is a big central area. You have some neighborhoods to the north of the 76 freeway. We're kind of right on the border of Camp Pendleton. So one negative, if you're living up there, as they're doing testing and stuff, we mentioned in past videos, you're gonna hear that percussive boom as they're doing or what are they doing?
Testing mortars, testing stuff.
Yeah. Testing things out there.
But you can, and it's always interesting too, because we have clients that have asked us about that. You can always check on the Camp Pendleton website. They tell you the days and times that they're doing it, so just that you're not shocked when it happens. Because we do even hear it down in San Marcos, where I live. You get it sometimes all the way down in Encinitas, Solana Beach. So yeah, it definitely is a thing in Oceanside for sure.
Yeah, and then as you go further inland, you have like Jeffrey's Ranch, bigger properties. As you're cruising down, like white fences going up and down. You have Arrowwood. A lot of people have reached out and like, why do you guys make more videos on inland Oceanside? And we're gonna. So Arrowwood, Jeffrey's Ranch, kind of where show you where that new development is going out there. So stay tuned for that. Don't worry, we'll get into all those neighborhoods as well. But as you go even further, you do have, that's where that newer neighborhood is going, and it just goes butts all the way up to Bonsall. And the price point, like I said, is gonna be one of the most affordable for coastal cities right here in San Diego.
One other thing that kind of is a reoccurring thing we talk about is that sense of community in Oceanside. It is definitely one of those things where people are very proud to live in Oceanside, very excited about their community. Obviously, they have great amenities, just like a lot of the other cities in San Diego. They've got parks, they have things that get people together, like movies in the park. They have farmers markets. They got a lot of those things, but it's more the people, more the connection between, and it's not even development to development. It's like Oceanside as a whole, like where some of the other cities, it's like Lucadia is very tight in Encinitas, but not tight to the other parts. Oceanside just is tight in general, and you see it and you hear it when people are talking about living in Oceanside. We have a lot of clients that live in Oceanside and all parts, Eastern Oceanside, Central, and it's so much fun seeing them get to the coast, get to a lot of the new amenities that Oceanside has, and kind of get into that community.
Now hopping into the cons, like I said, some of the pros were also cons. Some of the cons might be pros for you, honestly. But as Oceanside has its size, as it's got all these different neighborhoods. Cassie mentioned some of our clients live in Central Oceanside. You get down to the beach pretty easily. But as you go further east in Oceanside, it tends to get less beachy, less ocean-sidey. Like you're not necessarily near the ocean anymore. And obviously you can get there. There's Oceanside Boulevard will cut you down there, the 76 freeway, which is, I'll tie that in here in a little bit. There's a few other ways. You could hop on the 78 if you're down to the south a little bit. Like South O, yes, beachy community. You could ride your bike to the beach, ride your e-bike down there, even as you get east of the 5 communities a little bit. But as you go inland from there, it gets into the suburbs, it gets into different communities, it gets into just different areas that yeah, you're driving around down Oceanside Boulevard, you're going to see like 1,000 palm trees cruising in there, but it doesn't feel as beachy. And it just, you know, if you're moving to there, yes, you could definitely visit the beach, but the vibe is not that beachy vibe that you would see as you get closer to the coast.
Chris mentioned Arrowwood earlier, and that is definitely way far north. So it's not, doesn't have that, you got to go south, then eat west to get to the beach. So there are just some communities within Oceanside that are just a little bit further out there, not quite as convenient. One other con is the lack of trails in Oceanside. You see us walking on a bunch of the trails in Carlsbad near Calavera Hills, in San Alejo, kind of within the community of San Alejo Hills and San Marcos. Oceanside doesn't have that. There are a couple of trails here and there, but it's not to kind of get you from, you know, within the community. There's one big long trail north of the 76, the San Luis Rey Trail.
Yeah, San Luis Rey River Trail. It goes pretty far inland, all the way down to the coast. So it's flat, it's great, it's bikeable. I run down there a bunch of times and like taking trips because it cuts into a few of these different communities to the north.
And so a lot of the other communities, they just didn't plan that. They plan a lot of parks, they plan a lot of walkability with sidewalks and all that, but there's not a lot of trail systems and stuff that were built into some of these communities.
And so that cuts down on obviously hiking, some of those outdoor activities. Yeah, sidewalks, you go do that. There's communities with parks, pocket parks, a lot of different, you know, I would say if we had to rank the park system in coastal communities, Oceanside wouldn't make the top of the list. I think you have Carlsbad, maybe you have Encinitas. Okay, and then we go Solana Beach or Oceanside. What do you think? Solana Beach does have San Diego Park, which is a pretty big,
epic,
cool park.
I think that beats all of them.
Oceanside has more parks. So I don't know, it's somewhere in that range. And then also to the beaches, there's some of the more popular beaches because they're touristy beaches. They're big, wide open beaches, especially when you get into the harbor. Like you go to the north side of Oceanside, and it's just this big, wide open beach. As you go further south, it kind of, as you go further into, yeah, just the actual beach. Actually, so southern Oceanside is pretty small too, because there's houses right on the water, which you don't find in a ton of neighborhoods. They have the huge rocks kind of built up as a barrier. And sometimes during high tide, there's no beach. It just goes right up to the rocks. So I've been surfing out there, and like you walk down and you're kind of jumping off the rock, or yeah, mostly jumping off the rocks, like get in the water. Sometimes you'll have a little bit of a beach, but as you go further north to there, like the harbor and stuff, ton of beach, pretty easy access. We're down there for Mother's Day last year, and you know, luckily we pulled in perfect parking spot, but there's people doing circles around, you know, it's just a lot going on down there. So it's kind of the con is the beaches. Yes, they do tend to get a little bit busier than other beaches here in North County, San Diego. Now, while Oceanside as a whole is somewhat convenient, you do have like a big shopping center just off the 78 freeway to the south. Up and down Oceanside Boulevard, you have a bunch of amenities. Up and down the 76, you have a bunch of amenities. But getting around beyond that, it's a little bit tough. One of my least favorite one of my least favorite freeways is the 76 freeway in Oceanside. Cuts right through. It is a freeway, but there's a ton of lights going down there. So it's like, you're going, you're stopping, you're going, you're stopping. And so it's like, not great to travel down. Like we were showing some properties out in Fallbrook one time, and I was coming from somewhere coastal. So I was like, I'll shoot down the 76. Just kept going and on for, I don't know, it took so long. And that's true for other parts of Oceanside too. As you get like deep into Oceanside, like I said, around your little communities, you're gonna find convenience. You're gonna find, you know, off the 76, you got your Sprouts, you got your Home Depots, you got your Targets, all that kind of stuff. I think there's a Target up there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll double check on that.
There is.
Yeah, there is one.
We just double checked.
Okay, we just double checked. So up there, you do have a lot of that stuff. There's great breweries around, South O Brewing, Black Plague. So you will find a bunch of different areas throughout, but as you're traveling out, let's say you're living in Oceanside, maybe you're working down in Sorrento Valley or something like that. It could be a long trek because if you're living close to the freeway, the 76, yeah, you could take that. It might take a little bit longer, then cut down on the 5 freeway. If you are living somewhere where you're like in between, should I go down south to the 78 or should I just take Oceanside Boulevard? Or it just takes a long time, it seems like, to get south when you're in there. So like, you know, I live in Encinitas, and you know, we show a lot of properties up in Oceanside, and the time it takes going up El Camino Real from Encinitas to, you know, parts of Oceanside, it could take 35 to 45 minutes depending on traffic. And that's only going, you know, a few cities down. So just take that into account. And the main point I want you to take out of this is a 76 is a freeway with lights. It's not ideal. It's not great, but
Highway, I think.
highway. We'll go with the highway.
So when people hear Oceanside, they definitely think the beach. They think the ocean. But there are some spots of Oceanside that are just not quite picturesque. There's big sections like north of the 76, around the 76, where it's all just very flat. There's no views whatsoever. As you're driving down streets like Oceanside Boulevard, or there's a couple others, it's very industrial, very commercial. So there's just some areas that don't have a lot of, definitely no views, but definitely just not as picturesque as you kind of see in a lot of our other communities. But it's quick and easy to get to some spots like Fire Mountain, South O, Loma Alta. There's a bunch of those areas where you do get great views and you don't have kind of those issues.
And so as with any city here in San Diego, Oceanside, it's got some good, it's got some bad. But if Oceanside might work for you, or maybe there's some other areas you want to check out, we would love to hear from you guys. That's what we do here. We are a real estate crew right here in San Diego. We make these videos about living in San Diego and just let you know what it's like, what it would be like living here. And you know, like I said, if it's not Oceanside, there's some other areas that we can kind of go over, hop on a Zoom call and be like, okay, well, I like this, I like A, B, and C, but okay, let's hop over to this area and check that area out a little bit. But you got to reach out. So call, text, email, all that contact info is popping up. Save it, take a screenshot. So when you are not driving, hopefully you're not driving, but when you are ready to reach out, give us a call and we will help you out and dial you in for your move right here to San Diego.